Hello and welcome to another video. If you're new to my channel, I am Plumbob's girlfriend, also known as Rachel, and as a quick introduction, I've been playing The Sims for around 10 years. I love building and creating Sims and was encouraged by my boyfriend to start making videos to share with everyone. I love the Sims community and have been watching it from afar for a while, and I felt like it was time to immerse myself into it. Also, if you're interested, my boyfriend streams on Twitch. He's currently playing Escape from Tarkov, and I'll make sure to leave his information in the box below in case you're into first-person tactical shooter games. It's kind of fun to watch, even though I don't really like playing those kinds of games, so you might be interested. Now to start the video, I want to introduce you to the Patterson family. This build is for them, so I thought it might make sense to let you get to know their personalities a little bit before we hop into it. Just so you know, this is the first video in a series, and I'll be getting more into my build process in each video. So if you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe and ring the notification bell so you can see when I upload part 2. First, we have our matriarch, Nora Patterson. She's an aspiring master chef. She's a bro, so she's pretty cool. She's family-oriented and a genius. She's level 3 in the culinary career. Her husband is Anthony, and while he's currently unemployed, the two have built a comfortable life with each other. Anthony aspires to be a computer whiz, he loves the outdoors, he's romantic and family-oriented. The two have been happily raising their 2 kids, Sierra and Lewis, but they recently found out that they're expecting a 3rd child due to a romp in the ruins. They're excitedly transitioning their 3rd bedroom from an office into a nursery. Sierra is a high school student and doesn't currently have a job, but she wants to be a painter extraordinaire and hopes to be contributing to the household by selling her paintings. She is gloomy, but she's also good, and she likes to represent her traits with her style choices. She might wear a lot of black, but loves to play with colorful makeup to show her artistic side. Her brother, Lewis, is kind of the opposite. He's a social butterfly, and he's very cheerful. There were a few things that I wanted to keep in mind with this build. I chose to place the family in Willow Creek because it's one of my favorite neighborhoods in The Sims 4. It reminds me of New Orleans, Louisiana, so I wanted the house to look like it could belong there. Homes in Louisiana are often built on stilts to accommodate high water levels in the case of flooding during hurricane season, so it was a no-brainer to build this lot on a higher foundation. I've been to Louisiana once and stayed in New Orleans on Bourbon Street. It was amazing and the houses were really beautiful. I wanted this lot to feel like it belonged somewhere between the Garden District and Bourbon Street. The Garden District can be seen as ritzy and expensive, while the main strip in New Orleans is kind of a party central, in case you haven't heard. And neither of those really fit the vibe of the Patterson family. When I build, I try to look for inspiration photos, so I wanted this house to feel like a Victorian-style home, which doesn't really serve itself to an open concept. I also wanted each family member to have their own space to themselves. You'll notice that I start to kind of section off the house. This video is just going to be the outside and the inside layout. Once I finalize the layout on the inside, it stays that way, and I don't really move any walls when I start to decorate on the inside, so that's pretty cool. Because it kind of just came to me pretty quickly, actually. I wasn't really planning when I started this build to make it 2 squares on top of each other, but that's what it turned out as, and I feel like it really works when I get the family in there and everything starts to come together. I wanted the bedrooms to be decent sizes. The bathrooms are all pretty good size too. I was able to manage to get a master bathroom in there, as well as 2 other bathrooms. You'll see that the kids have one upstairs that they share, and the guests can use the ones on the main floor. I was a little worried at first that each individual sim wouldn't have enough space to kind of lay out their personalities, I guess, but it ends up working out really nicely, and I think that it's a cozy looking build, which I think serves this time period and the style of the home pretty well, but it's also a comfortable living situation for each of the Sims. I have to say that one of the regrets I have from the recording of this build, now that I'm watching it back, is that I didn't put any lights in at this stage, so it's hard to see what I'm doing, so I apologize, and hopefully I'll learn from this, and in future builds I won't have this issue, but bear with me because I'll put some windows in pretty soon, and the windows help later on in the next couple parts of this series. You'll be able to actually see what I'm doing. One thing that I am proud of is this little corner right here. Let me know if you guys utilize these shaped walls very often, because I never do, and it really does. That half of a square really does add so much space to that one room, and it makes it so much easier to furnish. And right now you're going to see me struggle to find a door for the master bedroom, which is the really long shaped one. And I'm trying to find one that's going to fit into that corner, thinking that it was more than 2 squares long. It's not. I end up having to use the same door as in all of the other rooms, so it was kind of a waste of time, to be honest. I know I can't be the only person who does that, so if you have ever had that kind of thought process where you're like, I know that this is going to fit here, it has to, let me know, because I want to feel a little bit better about myself. Now I am putting in some windows on the outside, and honestly, windows make every build just kind of come together a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit more professional in my opinion, or maybe not professional, but complete, finished, I guess would be the right way to put it. And right here, you'll see that I kind of zoom out quite a bit so I can look at the other lots in the neighborhood. I want to get an idea for what they're seeing and what they have going on, so that I can kind of make the house look like it belongs where I placed it. And I feel like patios in New Orleans are very important. You'll have a rocking chair out there, or something like that, and it's just feels right to have that. I didn't get fancy with the roofs in this one. It just didn't seem like it needed it. It feels like a bit of a colonial look to it on the outside, so it just didn't need more than the one roof. But here is where my favorite part comes in. Every build that's supposed to look like New Orleans needs a patio, in my opinion, or not a patio, a balcony. Because if you don't have a balcony, how are you going to throw beads at people during Mardi Gras? Am I right? Or am I right? I have to say, I really like the way that fencing looks on the top floor, on the top balcony. But I do change that later. I think that in my head, I realized that for this particular family, they're a little bit more modern than that. So I wanted the house to kind of match their personalities a little bit more. And even though it's a traditional home for the area, it doesn't really fit their style for it to be that old-fashioned fencing. I don't leave it as the tall fences either. I don't think I spent some time on the fences because I wanted to make sure that it fits in the neighborhood, but I also wanted to make sure that it fits with the family's personality at the same time, because I think both are important. Alright, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend comparing yourself to other builds or builders, but I do, like I said before, I spent quite a bit of time comparing this house to the one next door just to make sure that everything kind of meshes and goes together. It's one of those things that I try to take care of, especially since I'm not redoing the entire neighborhood at this point. I'm just building on empty lots. Maybe in the future I won't worry about it so much, but I really love this neighborhood for the cultural aspect of it, and I wanted everything to fit together. And I kind of wanted it to look like it could be a Maxis build, but also put my own spin on it. I should also say that it was really hard to not decorate the outside of this build at this stage. I will be having a full full video dedicated to landscaping and decorating the outdoors. So look out for that because I feel like it turned out really cute and I am really excited to share that. But I really had to stop myself multiple times from going in and finding clutter items and stuff for this build. So as you can see, I have done the siding on the main house and now I'm working on the foundations. I really like this diamond pattern, but I don't like the way that it clips. I feel like it's disappointing how it doesn't space out properly just because you've already set the bedrooms on a build. So I end up changing that to the stone, which I also think looks really nice on this house. So it works out in the end. I am also going to change the door. That door just was almost too ornate, or maybe even not ornate enough. It was that weird kind of in between, and I feel like the door that I ended up putting in there fits a lot better. So next I'm going to work on the flooring on the outside. I really like some of the new, I guess it's not new, that pack is pretty old. The outdoor retreat patterns of flooring, I feel like they fit really well outside. I do get a little excited on the top balcony, just trying to think of something that's a little bit more interesting and ornate, but I ended up going with some plain brick for the pattern, which kind of matches the neighbor's house a little bit. At this point, I just want to make things look a little bit more intentional and put together, so I'm putting that siding down. I can't remember what it's called, but I like it because it's a little bit more ornate, but it doesn't feel overpowering, and it feels like it fits within the neighborhood. I try to remember these rooftop details, but sometimes I forget because it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. Also there you'll see that I changed it from the brick to some plain cement, so that balcony is now as plain as it can be. I love building garages in The Sims, even though we don't have working cars. I've mentioned this so many times at this point. I'm just as happy with the new debug cars that we have access to as I would be with actual drivable cars. In fact, I'm probably more happy with the debug cars because I don't really care about my Sims being able to drive. It's not really that big of a deal to me. Oh, and I really wanted to make the siding on the garage look really different from the main house because I wanted it to feel like the garage was built way after the original house was built. And maybe it could have been a shed or something like that beforehand, but I didn't want it to feel like it was a part of the main house because I feel like the houses in New Orleans were probably, a lot of them were probably built before vehicles were a commonplace thing. I know that the streetcar has been around for a really long time there, and I wanted this one to feel like it was more of a streetcar era house rather than a drivable car kind of house. Now that I'm getting the windows in, I'm getting closer to the end of the build. I wanted the inside to feel kind of bright, but not too bright because I feel like the Victorian style or era houses typically don't have like the best lighting or the best natural lighting, I guess. I also really want the windows on this house to kind of fit the neighborhood as well because you see that all of the neighbors seem to have shutters, or a lot of them do anyway, and that just feels like a very southern thing to have a house with shutters. So I definitely wanted to incorporate more shuttered windows into this build as I got upstairs. And then of course there are the windows in the garage itself. I feel like this is the best way to make a house look, or make a garage look like an actual garage. It just kind of brings it all together for me. It's a one-car garage, as you can tell. You can't really fit much in it, but it just does so much for it in my opinion. And I really like the way that it turned out. And with that, we're pretty much toward the end of the build. This is again part 1 of this build series, so keep an eye out for parts 2 and however many it's going to take me to get through it. But I spend time furnishing the whole thing, and I hope that you guys really like it. Also, those were some sneak peeks of the way that it ends up looking after everything is put together. The outside landscaping is going to be its very own video probably, so I really like the way that this whole thing turned out, and hopefully you're excited to see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.